I am Steve. Chicken
Look, I can't say I'm surprised that this movie was truly the movie of all time. Just watching all of the propaganda leading up to this, I say propaganda because I really do feel like it was propaganda to get people ready for this movie. I hated the style of it originally. I did not like the images that came out. I did not like the casting. I had no idea what this film was going to be about, and it felt like it had no direction. I mean, if you've been following kind of the Minecraft movie production process, it's been in hell for the last decade or so. But, let me just say, what the Minecraft movie offered and shed a light on throughout this entire experience has just been the common motif of the last 15 years of Minecraft, which has been the community carrying so hard on whatever Minecraft shovels out to us. So here's how this little review thing is going to work. I'm going to tell you my experience leading up to this movie starting yesterday, my experience watching the movie, and then we're going to go through the pros and cons, and then the overall message, and then my final overall rating. I don't really do reviews of movies. I think this might be the first one I've ever made on this channel, but I do have a lot to talk about, and there's a reason I made this video. And I do guarantee that I'm going to have some differing opinions from some other people making reviews about this. I watched FitMC's video, and that was definitely interesting. Anyway, okay, let's get to the point. After a couple months of deciding whether or not I was going to go actually see the movie, me and my friends got together and decided that we're actually going to go see it. So we went and saw it last night, which was Friday night, pretty much the first official day it was out. And because, I mean, you gotta go opening night if you're going to see it for the meme, right? So after I got done with classes and everybody kind of went their separate ways, I first went to McDonald's with my girlfriend and got the Happy Meal and the Big Mac meal with the Minecraft toys. I got the Hamburglar Minecraft figurine, and it actually was like pretty solid. It's like pretty well made, shockingly. And like it had this cool little collector's card with it, and I was like, honestly worth the experience. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked by the quality of that. So after getting McDonald's, we watched an episode of Severance and, you know, actual like good TV before going to see this. And leading up to it, as soon as we show up to the theater, I see two people smoking a bong in their car, which really can just show you like what people did to get ready for this movie. Like they were just blatantly out in public, like just getting absolutely blazed in this car, getting ready to go see this movie. And I thought that was so funny. But besides the point, we're standing there in the lobby waiting for our friends to show up, and these just waves of high schoolers start flying through the doors. And I saw people with the funniest outfits, both people dressed up as Steve, people dressed up in furry costumes, people dressed up in full suit. It was insane. One person even had a little Steve plushie like sticking out of the collar of their shirt, and were pretending to feed it popcorn, and it was just like, it was bliss. And this was a nice little omen for what the audience experience was going to be like during this movie. It was insane. And I'll get more to that in a second. So we get our popcorn, all that, sit down, ready to watch this film. And immediately people are just like freaking out. There were people sitting behind us that were just going, all right, everybody, say chicken jockey, 1, 2, 3. And the whole theater just chicken jockey. Like, actually insane. And this is something that didn't stop. Like, once the movie started, immediately people started standing up and applauding. I have never seen anything like that in a movie experience. Let me just say, this is going to be the first pro of the video, is that the audience carried this movie so hard for me. I was able to go see Infinity War and Endgame opening night. And I thought that, that was a really, really cool opportunity. That was one of the best opportunities I've ever had in my life, being able to see those films and, cultural sensations. At that time, it really felt like that was my generation's Star Wars. You know, when I hear my parents talking about how they went and saw Star Wars opening night, I felt like that was my experience in the theater. And the audience was incredible, and it was my favorite movie audience experience. So, in this movie, it was very shocking to say that the audience was way more into it than Endgame and Infinity War, which is nuts to say. But I'm not kidding. People are standing up applauding as soon as the movie starts. When the meme quotes would fly out, people said them all in mass. And people were just like having a complete hoot during this movie. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. It felt like you crammed in 200 people into your living room and just had a massive watch party. And honestly, that was something that I latched onto a lot, and that was pretty special. Let me go into some of the other pros here before we get into the cons. The first thing I have written down here is movie style, and I think this is probably the strongest part of the film, is that I was really worried when the advertisements were coming out and seeing how garbage the animals looked, how it was all going to be live action, and I was like, God, this is not going to fit thematically. Watching the actual film, it worked for me, and it actually worked really well. I was quite shocked with not only how good the animation was, but also the world building itself. It really felt like if you could apply Minecraft to real life, this is what it would feel like. And I was very shocked by that, because when I saw the animals, I was like, oh man, this is going to be terrible. It's just going to be a CGI fest, which it was. And there certainly were scenes where you could tell Jack Black was just standing in front of a green screen and just rambling, and it looked very bad. It looked so fake, specifically at the beginning of the movie, which was kind of strange. But anyway, it honestly wasn't too bad. I really enjoyed the environment. I enjoyed how people interacted with the environment. For the most part, it was pretty solid. I'll get into a con about how it sometimes made zero sense at all. But anyway, thematically, honestly, and like stylistically, it looked great. And they did a really, really good job with that. If I could give one specific detail about what really shined in this movie for me and what made me have a little bit more hope, was that the first 20 seconds start off with a world generating animation just like in the game and C418's classic score, and that was really impactful to me. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this movie is actually like diving into that nostalgia and diving into what made the game so special. And also, it's combining the game and the movie, if that makes sense. It's not just a movie like standalone thing. When you include elements from the game and not just a real life aspect, but like actual elements from the game, that makes it feel a lot more genuine. I think they also added to this by using sometimes like sound effects from the game. They also used the score multiple times from the game, both Lena Raine and C418 stuff, which I really appreciated. Pig Step was even in there. Like, that was really, those were the top moments of the film for me, were those moments where I was like, man, it does feel like they cared at least a little bit about what the game was. Jason Momoa really stole the spotlight in terms of acting here. Him and Jack Black's bromance that was going on was very shocking with how vulgar it sometimes got, and I was a huge fan of that. I think both Jack Black and Jason Momoa were kind of playing into that role of like, not taking it that serious and just appreciating what this movie was and what it stands for, and I really was a fan of that. Jason Momoa specifically, though, I think the character that he represents was so well done. I think that, like, of all the characters and, like, their comedic levels, his was definitely the highest, and not in, like, a comic relief way, but in a genuine, like, this is just who this guy is, and I totally believe it. His acting was over the top, but in a way that made it believable. And props to Jason Momoa for what he was given in the script and being able to work off of it, because the script was really bad, like really, really bad. But I'll get to that later. The kid was decent, honestly. I think like he wasn't given great, like script stuff, dialogue, all that, but he did a good job with what he was given. And honestly, I think a lot of people out there could actually find some transparency and connection to this kid. I think he offered a little bit of a seat to the room of middle schoolers who are seeing this movie and like trying to understand how they can express their creativity, but in a good way. I think his character itself can offer that, but the way it was given to him in the script was not good. Again, I'm trying to get the pros out here before we get to the cons. I will say the movie was very quotable. There was a lot of memeability in this film, and it carried very hard. if it weren't for the chicken jockey, flint and steel, release, like, if it weren't for those quotes, this film would not have been as enjoyable, and that really got the audience going. And like I said, the community carried this film so hard. If it weren't for those memes, it would have been abysmal watching this in the theater. So I'll give it some points for quotability. That's how cult classics kind of make their way in, and I'll give a credit for that. I don't think that's I think it's justified. I really liked, if you had a keen eye, you could spot some Minecraft YouTubers and other celebrities in the background. I especially liked at the garage sale scene how Mumbo Jumbo, I think Pearlescent Moon was in there, LD Shadow Lady, Dan TDM was in there, like a couple others where I was like, man, it makes me happy that they're including some Minecraft YouTubers in here. I was a little worried that it was just going to be kind of a star-studded cast of just actors and not, the YouTube community that made Minecraft popular to begin with. And so I'm really glad that they gave credit to them because they absolutely deserve it. Minecraft wouldn't be what it is without them. There is a waiting scene later with Jennifer Coolidge and a villager, which, oh God, but trust me, we'll get there. But Jeb is the waiter for their table, and I really appreciated that. I thought that was really cool. And it was just fun little Easter eggs that if you looked, like at first glance, you would have no idea that that's Mumbo dressed up as a biker. But knowing Mumbo and like seeing him both like on Instagram and like in podcasts and stuff like that, he's pretty recognizable at this point because he's fucking like 6'5". So yeah, I thought that was really funny. So overall, getting to the last pro here, the movie didn't take itself too seriously. In general, it seemed to kind of get the idea as like, this isn't supposed to be a super serious thing. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be funny. And it's supposed to be that sense of wackiness that you could tell the director worked on Napoleon Dynamite. Like, it made sense here. And that like, it doesn't have to take itself seriously to still be a fun movie. And I really enjoyed that. I really appreciated the fact that they leaned into it for the most part, which is going to lead perfectly into our cons. Starting with, the two female roles were absolutely abysmal. Emma Myers and Danielle Brooks honestly gave it their best shot. Like, their acting was not good, but also the script they were given was so bad. And it just, like, kind of portrays into this idea that the director just has no idea how women work at all. And I know I'm a guy saying that, so like take that with a grain of salt, but still, like, it's frustrating how bad their roles were. Emma Myers, their entire role throughout this entire movie was just, my brother, he's my only family. And that's all she would say. She wouldn't do anything else. Like, I felt like she sometimes was like good at fighting the mobs and that they were trying to be like, oh, she's like the female protagonist, like, standing on business type thing. But like, it came off in a way where they were just like, oh shit, we forgot about her. We got to have her do something with Danielle Brooks, which her role, which was a real estate agent / zookeeper person, I guess, was very strange and, again, wacky, funny, and she gave it her best shot. But it was very frustrating how her and Emma Myers were just completely forgotten about in this movie. Like, there were times where you would follow the main three, the kid, Jason Momoa, Jack Black. They're going on their little adventure thing. For instance, they go into these redstone mines and get chased by all these piglins, and then they crash land, and Jason Momoa, spoiler alert, skip 20 seconds if you don't want this spoiled. He just fucking dies, and then he comes back, so it's not really a spoiler. And then they just wake up in this mushroom house, and Emma Myers and Danielle Brooks are like, oh, we found you because of your wolf, and now you're good, and we have a mushroom house. And I was sitting there, I was like, why would you not have a bonding sequence between Emma Myers and Danielle Brooks of them building that house? Or like a little bit more interaction. It was just very frustrating, and I was not a fan. Their roles were really, really bad, and I felt bad for them. Which, going out of this, any sort of drama in the plot was completely useless. These were the moments in the film where it was actually trying to take itself seriously, which, why would you ever do that with the Minecraft movie? Like, unless you're like actually trying from the very beginning, because Jason Momoa and the kid would get in an argument, and it's like, I do not care at all. Emma Myers talking about how her brother's her only family. I'm like, dude, I do not give a shit. like at all. Just show me more of the Jason Momoa bromance stuff, because it took you out of the seat. It basically took you out of the experience of like, this is a funny movie. There's not really much serious to latch onto, and being like force fed these ideas of like family bond and stuff that just felt so out of place. And then this is going to lead into later when I talk about the overall message of this movie. There's a weird bashing on creativity in this film where I kind of see what they were going for, which was creativity isn't valued in the real world, so they escape to the, the Minecraft world where like Jack Black, who yearned for the mines, and because of that, then like he's happy, and like the creative world just like doesn't exist in the real world. And they were trying to get at this a little bit, but what ended up happening is they would go on these weird tangents about how you just get bullied for being creative, and why would I ever want to go back to that? And then they do the exact opposite with their actions, and that makes zero sense to me. But again, I'll get into that a little bit later. The pacing in this movie was really, really bad. Like, really bad. The first beginning third honestly wasn't too atrocious. Like, they spent quite a bit of time giving Jack Black like backstory, which is fine, but then they never addressed it again. The middle third was not good. The second act just really did not hit. And the third act, especially because they're leading up for the whole movie that they're going to this woodland mansion to like get this part of the cube that like makes them so that they're able to get back home, I guess. And they just fucking show up at the woodland mansion at the start of I guess it's like the end of the second act, I guess, but like they just show up there, and it's like, why? You showed part of the journey, but everything that was happening just felt so out of place. And then the final battle was like 10 minutes and then it was over. And it just, the balancing, it was like 40% first act, maybe 20%, probably 30% second act, and then the rest was third act. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? I was not a fan of that pacing at all. It just was not good. There were random musical numbers as well happening between Jack Black and the rest of the cast, and it felt so out of place. I felt like they were trying to recreate Peaches from the Mario movie and what like cultural effect that had, but it was so hollow and just shelled that I was not a fan, and they were really bad. They were really cringe. Speaking of cringe, let's talk about overacting for a second and talk about Jack Black and how I was not a fan of him just trying to desperately, and I really could not emphasize enough, desperately appeal to a younger audience, and in a way that just felt more like creepy and annoying than anything. The way he would say things, memeable for sure, but also just annoying as fuck. And this leads up also to Jennifer Coolidge, who she was just given the like typical role of like MILF, but like in a way that was really bad with this like villager, and I just was not a fan. Seeing the scenes of her were just making me cringe so much, and just like making me hate Jennifer Coolidge, which I don't think I would ever say that up until now. Like, Jennifer Coolidge is such a funny character usually in movies, but in this, it just did not land. And it honestly just felt more creepy than anything. That if it weren't for Jeb waiting their table with her and this fucking villager, I swear, man, I would lose my mind. Although, the joke of her talking about hitting people with her Jeep Grand Cherokee over and over and how it's happened multiple times, that was very funny. That was good dialogue. I really appreciated that. And then finally, let's get into the world's logic. Mobs in this movie made no sense. They would just like show up, at night. That made sense. Except they would show up and like there'd be 30 of them, and then in the next scene there would be like 3. And it made zero sense to me how that worked. Creepers also didn't explode hardly at all. I think I saw one creeper actually like explode on screen, and the rest was just like big explosions. And that was very frustrating to me. Like, there's a scene where they get stuck in Steve's creeper farm, which was really funny. I did appreciate that. But the creepers are just like looking at them. They're not even like exploding. And it's like, they don't explode until the end after they hit them. And I just don't get that. Creepers could be used as such a fun plot point And they just didn't do that. Like, it's literally the most iconic reference and symbol of Minecraft. So that was a little bit annoying. Also, there would be times where the kid would just just create these massive structures in seemingly seconds. And like, I get it, we're not taking the movie seriously. That's fine. But it was really frustrating when he didn't know what a crafting table was and he had stairs in his house. I'm just going to say that, okay? It was easy to point out. Finally, involving this kid too, who I didn't mention earlier, is played by Sebastian Eugene Hansen. Again, did a pretty good job. But there's a scene where he just makes this like gun, I guess, with like real world objects and fake objects. And Jack Black is like, no way, you're taking objects from the real world and combining them with Minecraft objects and it works? That's so freaking creative. That's so cool. And I get it, but also just felt so, again, hollow, like just boring. Like what I was saying earlier, this is going to get into our first theme here, right? Is creativity valued in society? And how they're saying that it's not, and that Minecraft offers you an escape from that. But what makes Minecraft so special is that it doesn't give you tools from the real world. You have to work by the physics of the game and what items you're given. So by combining, like saying, hey, you can just take this fucking tater tot from the real world, throw it in this game, and now it works, I feel like undermines the overall message of what Minecraft stands for, which is having to get creative to overcome problems because of the limitations that Minecraft offers. That's creativity to me and what Minecraft's creativity form represents. So the overall message made zero sense because they're just undermining it constantly in this film. Is being a kid valued in society is another message where in the real world, apparently you just get bullied all the time for being a kid, which, I mean, that's fair. That's not that, off. But in the Minecraft world, they're offered this escape, and like, that seems nice. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, okay, we're ready. We're ready to go back. And this especially didn't make sense for Jack Black as Steve and Henry, or Sebastian Eugene Hansen. Like, made zero sense for them because both of them were not a fan of how they were treated in the real world. Went to Minecraft as an escape, basically. I mean, I know Henry, it happened accidental, but he loved it there. So why on earth would they go back to that world, seemingly with no comprehension of the fact that they have to be adults again? And, for example, Jason Momoa acts kind of like a kid throughout the entire movie, which I loved. It was so funny. It was so good. But then, he's broke from acting like a kid in the real world, and they kind of make this a point with some more emotional scenes. I say that with quotes. But then, he just goes right back, and then all of a sudden everything's fine again, and it makes zero sense to me. And it's like, if he's being a kid and being punished in the real world for acting like a kid, why would he ever go back to that? Makes zero sense. So, yeah, thematically made zero sense. Plot made pretty much zero sense. Characters, their motivations made zero sense. There were some great one-liners, there were some great scenes. My favorite scene was the Elytra scene, which if you know, you know. The whole little, Jason Momoa, Jack Black 69 thing, that was hilarious. Everything else, though, was the equivalent of just scrolling through Instagram for 2 hours. That's what I felt like after this movie. After the audience reactions, they were just the comment section. The movie was the content. And afterwards, it just felt like brain rot. So, was the movie worth seeing? Yes, I guess. But only for the audience. I cannot stress enough how much the community and audience carried this film watching experience. In fact, at the end of the movie, I took these guys' picture and they gave me a beer, which I'm pretty sure they were in high school. I don't think they were old enough to drink beer. But anyway, it said potion of driving on the front, and the nutrition facts were fucking hilarious. If I remember, I'll put a video in this because, oh my God, it was so funny. And that made it worth it alone. But if it weren't for the audience, don't go see this movie in theaters. It's not worth it. Just wait for it to either come out on streaming or just don't watch it. You're not going to gain anything from seeing this movie unless you're there with the community that made this movie possible in the first place. It is the exact same thing as YouTube, the exact same thing as playing the game. It is more fun with other people. Seeing this movie alone I feel like that would be hell. It would not be worth it. So let's give it a final rating. I'm going to base it off of the ratio of cringe to funny. Funny, 40% of this film. Cringe, 60%. So it's getting a 4 out of 10. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I'm usually pretty kind to movie reviewing. I think that if movies understand that they're just kind of being made for fun and they're supposed to be fun, that's fine. And I will enjoy it. The Super Mario Brothers movie was like that. Like, it knew it was going to be fun from the get-go. It wasn't supposed to be something serious, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. This movie, unfortunately, tried to take itself seriously sometimes, and it turned out to be so freaking cringe. I, again, could talk about this for way longer, but this is already almost half an hour long. I can't believe you've been listening to me for this long. But let me know in the comments below what you think, and also let me know if you want more movie reviews, because I love talking about movies. I can also talk about shows. I said earlier, I've been watching Severance, and man, it's so freaking good. It's so good. I just started season 2, and that is just, great television. Anyway, though, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. I'm going to go rinse my mouth out now because, oh my God, talking about this movie makes me feel disgusting. All right, bye.